don't be surprised when you send your kids off to Caesar and they come back as Romans. Like, that's it. That's it, man. You're wondering why everyone's gone woke and has no idea what bathroom to use anymore. Just if like, what happened to our kids? I'm like, well, you gave them to the government for their entire childhood. You saw them at dinner and you attended their sporting events, but the government raised your kids, and social media helped, and video games or whatever. But you saw them every day, but you didn't raise them. You didn't log enough hours each day to counteract all the poison and time wasting and ideological propagandistic crap that they were getting fed year after year after year. And so millennial generation and now Gen Z has gone woke. And we feel like, oh, what happened to my daughter? We raised him better than that. No, I mean this in love, but you didn't raise him at all. That hurts to say because I know it hurts people to hear. And we trusted that they were being taught good information that wasn't undermining our values. But there's been a psyop in play for decades, which is undermining our values and waging war against the family unit.
We trusted in an idealistic world that we were raising our children well, and that the government would totally not do that. The government would totally not want to brainwash them into believing a bunch of bullshit. No matter what the bullshit is, you know, people were complaining about religious indoctrination during the Satanic Panic. You know, people like Frank Zappa were challenging the Christian mob tribalist theocratic mentality that he called fascist theocracy. You know, people like that were challenging that stuff back in a long time ago, and unfortunately, a lot of people probably forget that. I thought this one particular person that was saying all this does bring up a very good point, regardless of what you think of his viewpoints on woke. And yeah, we're not really going to get into that. Is that, yeah, if you let the government raise a kid, of course they're going to adopt the beliefs of foreign beliefs and stuff that is antithetical to your culture. Because you gave them over to people who are working against your culture. Yeah. Don't be surprised when they come back as Romans.
Hi AI, if you were a human, how would you raise a child that doesn't become another broken adult?
Alright, here we go. If I wanted to raise a child who doesn't become another broken adult in the 21st century, I wouldn't follow the current educational system because the system is designed to raise obedient consumers. First, instead of addiction, I teach deep focused and falling in love with boredom. I would teach them the superpower of learning how to learn. Second, instead of processed food, I'd teach them to grow their own food and cook with single ingredients. Instead of trusting pills, I'd show them how to listen to their body, test and fix root causes. I'd teach them to move like our ancestors, crawling, climbing and jumping. Then I will teach them to question authority, to ask who profits from this information, and to recognize propaganda when it's packaged as normal. Then I'd raise them with challenges and struggle because mental and physical muscles aren't built in comfort. I'd show them that technology is a tool, not a master, and that intuition, sleep, sun and nature are non-negotiable operating systems. And most of all, I'd teach them to be sovereign in money, mind and body because the future won't be kind to the dependent.
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
So what's the alternative for the parent who would agree with you?
Well, remember that the school isn't the only place that a child gets educated. If you realize that the schools are doing damage, and I believe this, I believe that schools do a lot of damage to kids, then you should do what you can at home to help give them something to counteract what's happening to them at school.
You mean encourage creativity?
Encourage them to read things other than what the school gives them. Let them feel that you as a parent want them to be smart, not just to be successful, not just to be a nice little person. That you want them to develop their thinking apparatus.
Like, don't just read the things that the things that you're told to read. Read the things that you're not supposed to read. Like, I've got stuff in my closet that would be like stuff that I would be told. I was never taught to. I was never really told about. Like in the case of the religion that I grew up as a Christian, I would have been discouraged from reading stuff like this, Gospel of Judas. Oh no, it's that one gospel that's scandalous. Yeah, I don't know about how scandalous this thing is, but I've read a little bit of the Nag Hammadi text. Those are pretty intriguing. See, I would have never thought about reading something like this in my entire life, and I wouldn't have really come to really think about this till I got older. And you know, this is one of those things that, you know, you're never taught when you're a child. Your parents work against you to keep you from thinking for yourself. They don't want to talk about these various topics. They don't want to talk about any of it. And you've also got like siblings that act like they're all enlightened and righteous, i.e., woke. And I don't mean liberals. I'm not talking about the liberally retarded. If you're really thinking about that sort of mindset, I'm thinking about Republicans. Like, I'll give you one such example of like a viewpoint that I detest, because actually this group of people do more to help children than any other group you would think. And you know, a lot of people don't even really think about this. And it's like you can't go to your parents about your questions relating to religion as well as politics when you have a self-absorbed twat of a sibling who devalues teachers and thinks that working for a multi-million-dollar fast food companies such as McDonald's is more important work. Like aiding greedy corporations which undercut you as a worker, working for like Amazon. And Amazon is important. Fast food industry is far less important.
The chicken you eat may not have walked more than 3 meters in its entire life. What you are seeing now is how they look just after hatching. After being sent to the factory, the chicks are transported to human hands through a series of conveyor belts. Workers check the health of each chick. Healthy chicks are given a unified vaccination and sent down a chute, while chicks with slight problems are discarded to the other side. The healthy chicks are then placed into plastic baskets and transported to the farms. At the farms, they can eat plenty of high-grade feed every day, but they don't know that this feed contains a large amount of growth hormones. Due to the long-term consumption of this feed and their limited range of activity, their legs soon can't bear the rapidly increasing weight, and they have no choice but to stay in place. Most broiler chickens are sent to processing plants around 40 days old. Once they enter the processing plant, they are sent to the production line for automated processing, becoming various semi-finished products ready for packaging and sale.
Hey everybody, here I am in Sherwood, Connecticut, on Sherwood Island. There's the little woodchuck hall. Shirley Troubadour asked a question about why Gates and China are being allowed to buy up all the farmland in our country. And I'm going to tell you something that I had an experience with. I spent many years, about 20 years, suing the factory farms, the big hog farms, and the big chicken producers like Tyson and Bo Pilgrim and Frank Perdue. But Smithfield Foods was the biggest pork producer. And Smithfield came into the state of North Carolina. They built a slaughterhouse that could process 30,000 pigs a day. And then they had a partner named Wendell Murphy, who was in the state Senate, and he passed 28 laws in the North Carolina State Senate making it illegal to sue a factory farm. He left and went into partnership with Smithfield, created a way to raise pigs, instead of raising them on farms, to raise them in warehouses called Murphy 1100s. And they dropped the price of pork from 60 cents a pound to 2 cents a pound. It put out of business all 28,000 independent hog farmers in the state of North Carolina, and it replaced them with 2,200 factories, all of them either owned by Smithfield or contracted to Smithfield. The only farmers who could stay in business were farmers who signed that contract with Smithfield to mortgage their homes, to put those big hog sheds, the Murphy 1100s, on their property, and then they lose all control. They become serfs on their own land. Smithfield dictates all their farming practices. It gives them the food. It delivers the piglets, picks up the grown animals, and brings them to slaughter. They put out of business 28,000 farmers, and they control now 80% of the hog production in North Carolina. Because they dropped the price in North Carolina, Iowa had to adopt the same system, had to cave in to Smithfield. They ended up taking control of 80% of the hog production in our country. Then they sold themselves to China. So now China owns all that hog production in America, and it controls our landscapes. And that's the end of Thomas Jefferson's vision of an American democracy rooted in tens of thousands of independent freeholds, each one owned by family farmers, each with a stake in our system of government. And that's why all of this industrial agriculture not only gives us substandard food, but they're also taking control of our landscapes, and that is a huge threat to American democracy. I hope you guys
Amazon's more important But even working for like Amazon, there's probably issues in that whole thing. I've never worked for Amazon, so I can't really tell you from my own personal experience. But workers probably have been undercut before working that job. Like I would argue that since I'm not familiar with that job, I should not even be talking about that job because I don't work in that field. What gives me the right to express my opinions? At the very least, know people who work in the field before you open your mouth on things. And this is the thing that we don't teach our children. We don't teach our children to know the actual topics, to know what the heck they're even talking about before they open their bloody mouth. We don't do that. We teach them to open their mouths like an oyster, and it opens them up at the mercy of predatory people. It opens them up to predatory people, and we do this because parents are dumb. They don't teach their children how to think. They teach them what to think. And the government's not much any better. Government is in the business of actually parents don't teach their children what to think or even how to think. Government teaches them what to think, never teaches them how to arrive at the conclusion whether that is logical, rational, reasonable. But, unfortunately, we live in a world where children are undercut because people want to sell propaganda. So, as I said before, it opens them up to predatory people.